If you've ever met an Aries, you know they have a certain magnetic energy that makes them impossible to ignore. Their confidence, passion, and natural leadership abilities often draw others in, and they don't shy away from standing out. But beyond the outward appearance of boldness, there's a deeper layer to the Aries personality that makes them fascinating and sometimes challenging to understand. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, and that's no accident. As a cardinal fire sign, they embody new beginnings, fresh ideas, and an eagerness to dive into the unknown. Their ruling planet, Mars, is the planet of action and war, which explains why Aries is often so driven and competitive. They don't wait for opportunities to come to them. They go after what they want with relentless energy and determination. But here's the catch. While they appear fearless and unstoppable, the psychological traits of an Aries are complex and sometimes contradictory. They are not just driven by their desire to win. They also have a deep need for independence, emotional resilience, and surprisingly, vulnerability. So, are you like this? Do you find yourself pushing ahead, always striving for more, perhaps even acting without thinking at times? Or maybe you're an Aries yourself, wondering if you truly embody all the traits that make your sign so unique. Today, we're going to take a deep dive into 12 psychological facts about Aries that reveal not just their strengths, but also the parts of their personality that are often hidden beneath the surface. These traits might surprise you, and they could even make you look at the Aries in your life or yourself in a whole new light. Now let's explore the first 2 psychological traits that define this fire sign. Traits that could help you understand why Aries are so determined to lead, win, and take on challenges headfirst. Number 1, driven by a desire to win. Aries is a born competitor. For them, life is one big race, and they're always determined to come out on top. But it's not just about crossing the finish line first. It's about being the best in every aspect of their life. Whether it's at work, in sports, or even in personal relationships, Aries constantly strives for greatness. There's something deep inside of them that drives them to push their limits, to see how far they can go, and to test their abilities against the world around them. But what makes this drive so unique is that it comes from within. While other signs may seek approval from others or measure their success by external validation, Aries' desire to win is born from an internal sense of self-worth and ambition. This is why an Aries will often take on challenges that others would shy away from. They don't just want to succeed, they want to dominate. This intense drive to win can be seen in everything Aries does. In the workplace, they often go the extra mile to ensure that they're outperforming their peers. They might take on the toughest projects or volunteer for the most difficult tasks, all while maintaining a level of enthusiasm that inspires others. Their competitive nature isn't about trying to outshine people. It's about proving to themselves that they are capable of achieving greatness. For Aries, winning is not an option, it's a need. However, this constant pursuit of success can have its downsides. Because Aries places so much importance on their ability to win, they can sometimes overlook the importance of teamwork or collaboration. In their quest for individual success, they might unintentionally isolate themselves, not realizing that they need others to help them along the way. This can make Aries seem self-centered or overly focused on their own achievements. But in reality, they're just so driven by the belief that they can always do better. Moreover, their need to win can sometimes turn into an obsession. When Aries sets their mind to a goal, they become single-minded, sometimes to the point of ignoring other important aspects of their life. They're so focused on achieving that they might neglect their health, relationships, or personal well-being. This all-or-nothing mentality can lead to burnout if they aren't careful, as they tend to push themselves to the edge without realizing how much it's taking out of them. But no matter the setbacks or challenges, Aries will always pick themselves up. That's part of their charm. They never let failure define them. Instead, they use it as fuel to come back even stronger. If they lose, they don't wallow in defeat. They immediately start planning their next move, analyzing what went wrong, and figuring out how they can do it better next time. In fact, failure often makes them more determined to succeed as they hate the idea of being outdone or bested. In relationships, the desire to win can sometimes come off as competitiveness. Aries often wants to be the one who leads, who takes charge, and who makes the decisions. They can become frustrated if they feel like they're not in control or if things aren't going their way. This need to win in relationships doesn't necessarily mean that they want to overpower their partner. It's just that they don't like feeling vulnerable or dependent on anyone. They want to be the strong one, the one who can provide for others, and the one who can always handle any situation that comes their way. But here's the thing. While Aries is driven to win, they are also incredibly generous. They have a big heart, and once they succeed, they want to share that success with the people they love. Their competitive nature can easily be turned into motivation to help others achieve their goals as well. They believe that if they can win, anyone can win, and they'll do everything in their power to support their loved ones in their own journeys. However, this support may not always be gentle or subtle. Aries tends to be blunt and direct, offering advice that may feel more like a challenge than encouragement. Aries' competitive drive is deeply ingrained in their psychology. It fuels their desire to always be the best, but it also creates a pressure to constantly outperform themselves. And while they may appear tough and unflappable on the outside, inside, there's a constant battle to maintain their position at the top. So what happens when things don't go as planned? Or when Aries is faced with a challenge they can't conquer right away? Well, that brings us to psychological fact number 2. Number 2, impulsive decision makers Aries, with their fiery personality and go-getter attitude, are often quick to act and make decisions. They thrive in fast-paced environments where they don't have time to second-guess themselves. Their ruling planet Mars is all about action, which means that when Aries decides to do something, they jump right in. This impulsive nature can be incredibly exciting, especially for those who appreciate spontaneity and quick action. Aries doesn't waste time overthinking things. They just do. If an opportunity arises, they don't hesitate. This ability to act swiftly can lead to some great successes, as Aries isn't bogged down by doubt or hesitation. They trust their instincts, which often leads them to take risks that others might shy away from. This daring nature is what makes them natural leaders. They have the courage to make decisions that others wouldn't dare to, and they often inspire others to follow their lead. However, there is a downside to this impulsiveness. Aries often acts first and thinks later. This can result in rash decisions that, in hindsight, may not have been the best choice. Their desire to act quickly can sometimes cloud their judgment, leading them to make choices that they later regret. Aries may find themselves in situations where they've said or done something without fully considering the consequences, only to realize later that their actions have caused unintended problems. For example, Aries might impulsively quit a job because they feel frustrated or dissatisfied, only to find themselves without a backup plan or any real direction. Or they may jump into a relationship without taking the time to fully understand the other person, only to realize that they were too quick to commit. In these moments, their impulsiveness can backfire, leaving them feeling lost or uncertain. This impulsive behavior is often driven by their need for excitement and immediate results. Aries doesn't like to wait around for things to happen. They want things to unfold right now. This can create a sense of urgency in their decisions, but it can also lead them to overlook important details or fail to consider all the possible outcomes. This need for speed and immediate action can sometimes hinder their long-term success, as they may miss out on the value of patience and careful planning. Despite this, Aries' impulsiveness is one of their most endearing qualities. Their passion and energy are contagious, and their willingness to take risks can often lead to unexpected rewards. They may make mistakes along the way, but their ability to learn from those mistakes and move forward with determination is what sets them apart. And as much as impulsive decisions can cause challenges, they also provide Aries with a unique ability to adapt quickly. When things don't go according to plan, they are rarely paralyzed by indecision. Instead, they adjust on the fly, figuring out how to overcome obstacles and move forward. This adaptability is one of the reasons why Aries is so resilient They can handle any situation with the confidence that they'll figure it out, even if they've jumped in without fully thinking things through. But while this impulsiveness can work to their advantage, it also means that Aries can sometimes find themselves in situations where they've burned bridges or made mistakes they wish they could take back. The key for Aries, then, is to balance their quick decision-making with moments of reflection and mindfulness. After all, not every decision needs to be made on the spot, and sometimes it's okay to slow down and think things through. Now that we've explored Aries' drive to win and their impulsiveness, it's time to dive deeper into the other psychological traits that make this fiery sign both complex and captivating. And believe me, what's coming up next is just as intriguing as the first two facts. Number 3, a natural leader but overbearing. Aries are born to lead. It's in their nature to take charge, to take risks, and to make things happen. As a fire sign ruled by Mars, they are not just good leaders, they're unstoppable. The drive to be in control, to direct the course of events, and to have their voice heard makes them the type of person others look up to, even if they don't always seek the spotlight. Aries just has that natural presence that commands attention. What sets Aries apart from other natural leaders is their sheer intensity and passion. When they step into a room, they bring a sense of energy and authority that no one can ignore. They speak with conviction, they act decisively, and they rarely second-guess themselves. This combination of traits allows them to influence the people around them, often motivating others to follow their lead with a sense of loyalty and respect. But being a leader isn't always a smooth ride for Aries. While they are perfectly capable of inspiring and directing others, their powerful personality can sometimes cross into overbearing territory. They want things done their way, and because they believe their approach is the best, they can become frustrated if others don't share their level of commitment or urgency. Aries tends to take charge without asking for input, which can make them come off as controlling or dismissive of others' ideas. This need for control often stems from their fear of losing direction or being caught off guard. Aries wants to be the one who is always in command, even when situations would benefit from collaboration or flexibility. They may insist on making decisions for the group without allowing for much room for others to contribute. While this decisiveness can work in fast-moving situations, it can also cause frustration among those who prefer a more democratic or inclusive approach to problem-solving. Despite this, it's important to remember that Aries' leadership style comes from a place of passion and determination. They want to succeed, not just for themselves, but for everyone involved. They genuinely believe that if they lead with all their energy and heart, others will follow and succeed alongside them. Unfortunately, this intensity can sometimes be overwhelming for those around them, making it difficult for Aries to maintain balance in their relationships, whether personal or professional. Aries' need to lead also makes them less likely to ask for help or lean on others for support. They often believe they know best, and because they don't want to appear weak or uncertain, they tend to take on everything themselves. While this can lead to impressive accomplishments, it can also cause stress and burnout. The constant pressure to be the leader, to hold everything together, can take a toll on Aries, leaving them feeling isolated and even more determined to prove they can do it all on their own. But despite these challenges, Aries' leadership qualities remain a key part of who they are. Their ability to inspire, motivate, and drive action is unmatched. Their confidence in their abilities, though sometimes a little too bold, is what helps them achieve what others might consider impossible. It's this combination of strength and passion that makes Aries such a force to be reckoned with. As we've seen, Aries has the natural instincts of a leader, but they also struggle with the balance required to lead effectively without stepping into overbearing territory. Now let's look at how this trait ties into Aries' emotional resilience and their tendency to get easily provoked. This brings us to psychological fact number 4. Number 4, emotionally resilient yet easily provoked. One of the most impressive aspects of Aries is their emotional resilience. No matter what challenges life throws at them, they have this incredible ability to bounce back. They may face setbacks, disappointments, or failures, but it rarely keeps them down for long. In fact, Aries seems to thrive on adversity. When things get tough, they find strength in their struggle, determined to rise above whatever obstacle is in their way. This emotional toughness is tied to their fiery nature. Aries' passion runs deep, and they channel that same energy into overcoming obstacles. They're fighters, whether it's in their personal lives, careers, or in the face of societal challenges. When Aries faces a problem, they face it head-on, refusing to back down. In many ways, this makes Aries one of the most resilient signs in the zodiac. They have an innate ability to recover from emotional setbacks and keep pushing forward, no matter how difficult the journey may be. However, this emotional resilience doesn't mean that Aries is immune to emotional pain. In fact, Aries' emotional sensitivity often surprises people. While they may seem tough on the outside, they are deeply affected by their personal challenges. It's just that they don't like to show it. Aries doesn't want to be perceived as weak, and so they tend to keep their vulnerabilities hidden behind a facade of strength. They might bottle up their feelings, convincing themselves that they can handle anything. But in reality, they are just as susceptible to hurt as anyone else. What makes this even more complex is that Aries is also easily provoked. While they may seem tough, their tempers can flare up unexpectedly. They are quick to react, and when something doesn't go their way, or when their pride is hurt, they can explode. This sudden eruption of emotion is often driven by their need to protect their ego. Aries values their independence and self-worth deeply. So when these aspects of themselves are threatened, they can become defensive, even aggressive. This quick-to-anger trait can lead to conflicts in their relationships. In moments of frustration or anger, Aries may say things they don't mean, lashing out in ways that later make them regret their actions. They often act impulsively, without thinking through the consequences of their words or actions. The fire that burns within them can quickly become destructive if they don't find a healthy outlet for their emotions. But even though Aries is easily provoked, they are also quick to forgive. Once the storm has passed, they are usually ready to move on and leave the conflict behind. They don't dwell on grudges for long, preferring to focus on the future instead of staying stuck in the past. This ability to forgive quickly is part of what makes them emotionally resilient. They don't let negative experiences hold them back for too long. Instead, they learn from them, grow from them, and use them to fuel their next steps forward. The combination of emotional resilience and quick-tempered reactions is what makes Aries such a dynamic and complex sign. On one hand, they can handle tough situations with ease, but on the other, their impulsive reactions can create chaos in their personal lives. Still, it's this blend of passion, resilience, and emotional intensity that makes Aries so captivating. As we move forward, we'll delve deeper into how Aries' sense of independence and their craving for adventure plays a significant role in shaping their psychology. Their need for freedom is both a gift and a challenge. Let's explore how this affects their interactions with others and their personal growth in the next section. Number 5. Unyielding in pursuit of passion. When an Aries sets their heart on something, there's no stopping them. This sign's energy and passion are unmatched, and once they commit to a goal or a cause, they pursue it with an intensity that borders on obsession. Whether it's their career, a personal project, or even a relationship, Aries will throw everything they have into the pursuit of their passions. It's not just about achieving a goal for them. It's about giving it their all and experiencing every single moment along the way. One of the most fascinating things about Aries is how quickly they can become deeply passionate about something. It doesn't take long for them to feel that spark of excitement, and once it ignites, it consumes them. They dive in headfirst, wholeheartedly dedicating themselves to whatever they've chosen. Aries doesn't shy away from challenges. In fact, they seek them out. The more difficult the task, the more determined they become. They thrive on the idea of overcoming obstacles and proving to themselves and others that they can accomplish something great. But this intense pursuit of passion can also have its downsides. Aries can become so focused on their goals that they lose sight of everything else. Their tunnel vision can cause them to neglect other important aspects of their life, like relationships, self-care, or even long-term plans. They get caught up in the excitement of the present moment, and everything else becomes secondary. For example, Aries might throw themselves into a project at work, working tirelessly to get it done, while ignoring their health, relationships, and other commitments. Their drive to succeed can cause them to push themselves to the limit, often without realizing the toll it's taking on their well-being. It's easy for an Aries to get caught up in the rush of pursuing their passion and forget to take breaks, step back, or reassess their situation. This single-mindedness can sometimes create friction with others. When Aries is so focused on their own pursuits, they may unintentionally disregard the needs and feelings of the people around them. Friends, family, and partners might feel neglected or unimportant when Aries becomes consumed by their passions. The Aries individual's intense drive for success can make them seem distant, even though their motivations come from a place of deep passion. However, what others might not realize is that this unwavering commitment to their goals is often driven by a deep-seated need to prove themselves, not just to others, but to themselves. Aries wants to know that they are capable of achieving anything they set their mind to. This internal drive is what pushes them to give their best effort, even when it means sacrificing other parts of their life. They don't want to feel like they're settling or playing it safe. Instead, they want to experience life to the fullest, to know that they gave it everything they had. Despite the potential drawbacks of this relentless pursuit of passion, Aries' commitment to their goals often leads to remarkable achievements. They're not the type to take the easy route or settle for mediocrity. Aries pushes boundaries, breaks barriers, and challenges themselves in ways that others might find intimidating or exhausting. Their drive for success is what fuels their growth, and it's what enables them to rise above challenges that might deter less determined individuals. Still, it's important for Aries to recognize that passion can't always be a one-track road. Balancing their intense focus with the realities of life and their relationships is key to sustaining their energy and avoiding burnout. Their passions are what make them so dynamic and compelling, but finding a way to temper their drive with mindfulness can help Aries maintain balance in their lives. Number 6, struggles with patience. Patience is a virtue, but for Aries, it's often in short supply. If there's one thing that Aries craves more than anything, it's immediate results. When they want something, they want it now. This impatience is deeply embedded in their psychological makeup, and it can often lead to frustration when things don't progress at the speed they desire. For Aries, waiting is not just difficult, it's downright excruciating. They have a natural urgency to move forward, to keep the momentum going, and to reach their goals as quickly as possible. It's not that they lack the capacity for long-term planning, but the process of waiting, of being patient, is something that challenges their core. Aries thrives in environments where things are fast-paced, where action is immediate, and where they don't have to sit idly by and wait for things to happen. They want to be in control, pushing forward at their own pace, not bound by external factors that slow things down. This impatience can manifest in many areas of Aries' life. In their career, for example, they might want immediate promotions, rapid recognition, or quick success. They may grow frustrated if they don't see results quickly enough, and could make rash decisions in a bid to speed things up. Similarly, in personal relationships, Aries may expect things to move quickly. They want to know right away if a relationship is going to work, and if they don't get the answers they're looking for, they can become anxious or frustrated. They tend to rush through situations that require time, patience, and understanding, only to end up feeling disappointed or unfulfilled. This impulsive behavior is often driven by the same passion that fuels their other traits. Aries is not just a fire sign in the literal sense. They burn with an internal flame that demands action. The idea of waiting for something to unfold feels like a waste of time, and this can cause them to jump into decisions too quickly without giving themselves the proper time to evaluate all aspects of the situation. It's not that Aries lacks self-discipline, but rather that their enthusiasm and drive can sometimes overwhelm their ability to be patient. They are action-oriented, and the act of waiting feels counterproductive. Aries thrives on momentum. The faster they move, the more energized they become. When things slow down, they can feel trapped or hindered, making patience feel like a test of their resolve. But the truth is, Aries can be their own worst enemy when it comes to patience. Their impatience can lead them to rush through important steps, which can lead to mistakes or missed opportunities. They may take on too much at once, overcommit, or make hasty decisions that they later regret. In relationships, they might rush into things seeking instant gratification or immediate results, rather than allowing things to develop at a natural pace. However, this doesn't mean that Aries cannot learn patience. In fact, many Aries individuals grow to understand the value of patience over time, especially as they experience the consequences of acting too quickly. It's a lesson that comes with experience. Sometimes the best things in life take time, and the process can be just as rewarding as the outcome. But until that lesson is learned, Aries will continue to struggle with their impatience, always striving for more, always wanting things to move faster. Number 7, has a short attention span. Aries is a sign known for its boundless energy and constant desire for action, which can make them incredibly dynamic and driven. But there's a flip side to this energetic disposition. Aries tends to have a short attention span. Their desire for excitement, novelty, and immediacy often means they lose interest in things quickly. When something stops exciting them or begins to feel repetitive, Aries moves on to something new, often before they've fully completed the task at hand. This impulsive need for stimulation is a core part of Aries' personality. They thrive in fast-paced environments where they can jump from one project to the next, keeping their minds engaged and their energy levels high. The idea of stagnation is simply unbearable for an Aries. They want to experience everything life has to offer, and they want to experience it right now. So when things get predictable or slow, Aries tends to lose focus and seek out something that offers a fresh burst of excitement. This short attention span can manifest in many ways. For instance, Aries might start a new hobby or project with great enthusiasm, only to abandon it once the initial thrill wears off. Whether it's learning a new skill, starting a fitness routine, or even diving into a new job or relationship, Aries often finds it difficult to maintain interest over time if the excitement starts to fade. Their minds are always racing, always thinking about the next big thing. The moment something feels mundane or doesn't provide the constant stimulation they crave, Aries moves on, often leaving a trail of unfinished projects behind them. But it's not just about a lack of commitment. For Aries, the process of jumping from one thing to another isn't out of laziness or irresponsibility. It's about their need for constant challenge and growth. Aries doesn't settle for mediocrity, and they certainly don't like feeling stuck. The feeling of boredom is like a trap for them, and they would rather walk away from something than continue down a path that no longer sparks their passion. Their short attention span is a byproduct of their insatiable need for newness and excitement. This trait can be frustrating at times, especially when Aries is in a situation that requires sustained focus or patience. They may struggle with long-term projects or commitments that don't offer immediate results. In relationships, Aries might find it hard to stay engaged with a partner if the relationship becomes too predictable or routine. Their impulsive nature means they may crave variety and excitement in all aspects of their life, including their romantic life, which can sometimes lead to restlessness or dissatisfaction. However, Aries' short attention span also has its benefits. Their constant search for new experiences keeps them adaptable, innovative, and ready to embrace new opportunities. When one door closes, Aries doesn't hesitate to open another. Their ability to start fresh and approach things with a new perspective allows them to thrive in dynamic, ever-changing environments. This trait makes Aries naturally suited for careers or roles that require flexibility, rapid problem solving, and the ability to think on their feet. For Aries, the key challenge is learning how to maintain focus and patience in situations that require persistence and long-term dedication. If they can harness their energy and focus it on one project at a time, they can accomplish extraordinary things. But it requires self-awareness and the ability to recognize when they're getting distracted or losing interest before they abandon something important. So while Aries might struggle with keeping their attention on something for long periods of time, they make up for it by being adaptable, innovative, and always willing to start fresh when the excitement fades. But what happens when this constant need for stimulation intersects with another key trait of Aries? Independence. Number 8, psychologically complex. Yet simple in their desires, Aries is a sign that's full of contradictions. On the one hand, they're simple and direct, especially when it comes to their desires. Aries doesn't beat around the bush. They want what they want, and they want it now. Their desires are clear and straightforward, and they don't typically waste time on ambiguity. They crave recognition, respect, independence, and success. These are the core things that drive Aries, and they're usually vocal about their needs and aspirations. This simplicity, however, coexists with a much deeper psychological complexity. Aries may appear like they've got it all figured out, confident, independent, and always charging ahead with determination. But beneath this tough exterior, there's a whirlwind of emotions, insecurities, and conflicting desires. While Aries may present themselves as fearless and unshakable, they often carry doubts and fears that they don't always let others see. Their simplicity in wanting respect and success contrasts with the deeper complexity of their inner world, where they wrestle with their fears, pride, and need for validation. Aries is not one to share their vulnerabilities easily, though. They want to appear strong and capable at all times, which is why they often keep their more complex emotions hidden. They may struggle with expressing their doubts or insecurities, instead choosing to channel that energy into their goals and achievements. The desire for independence and autonomy is at the core of Aries' identity, but there's also a psychological need for validation from others. They want to prove to themselves and to the world that they are capable, that they are worthy, and that they can stand on their own 2 feet. This need for validation can sometimes create an inner conflict for Aries. On the one hand, they value their independence and resist being dependent on anyone. On the other hand, they seek acknowledgement and admiration from others for their accomplishments. This tension between wanting to be self-reliant while also seeking external validation can lead to feelings of frustration or insecurity, especially when Aries doesn't get the recognition they feel they deserve. They may start to question their worth, their abilities, or whether they've made the right choices in their pursuit of success. Yet, the beauty of Aries lies in their resilience and determination. They may struggle with their inner complexity, but they never let it stop them from pushing forward. If anything, their desire to prove themselves and succeed becomes even more intense when they feel misunderstood or underappreciated. Aries is constantly striving for more, and their journey is one of self-discovery, self-empowerment, and relentless growth. This combination of simplicity in desires and complexity in emotions is what makes Aries such a fascinating sign. They are direct about what they want, but underneath that surface is a person who is constantly battling with their inner world, trying to reconcile their need for independence with their desire for connection and validation. It's this psychological depth that adds layers to Aries' personality and makes them endlessly interesting and unpredictable. As we continue to explore the fascinating psychological landscape of Aries, we'll look at how their need for adventure and freedom shapes their decision-making and interactions with others. Aries is always chasing new experiences and challenges, and this desire for excitement plays a pivotal role in how they navigate the world. Let's dive deeper into the adventurous side of Aries and see how this trait influences their actions and relationships. Number 9 tends to mask vulnerability with strength. One of the most fascinating psychological traits of Aries is the way they mask their vulnerability with an outward display of strength. Aries is a natural-born leader, full of energy, confidence, and decisiveness, and they've cultivated an image of toughness and resilience over time. The reason for this is rooted in a deep need for self-protection. While Aries may not show it on the surface, they are incredibly sensitive beneath that tough exterior. The strong front they put up is a defense mechanism against perceived weakness, because Aries truly believes that vulnerability can be seen as a flaw. For Aries, showing vulnerability feels like a loss of control, something they are incredibly wary of. Their identity is built on self-sufficiency, strength, and assertiveness, so admitting weakness or showing emotional hurt feels counterproductive to their sense of self. The fear of being seen as weak often leads Aries to suppress their emotions, even when they feel overwhelmed or uncertain. This emotional resilience can be admirable, but it also comes at a cost, one that not many people truly understand. When an Aries faces hardship, they are more likely to double down and push forward rather than confront their emotions. They take pride in their ability to carry on, no matter how difficult the circumstances, whether dealing with personal loss, career challenges, or conflicts in relationships. Aries will often keep their struggles to themselves, putting on a brave face and refusing to let anyone see their vulnerability. This refusal to show vulnerability can sometimes make it difficult for others to get close to them. People may perceive Aries as cold, distant, or overly self-reliant, when in reality, they are just doing everything in their power to avoid exposing the parts of themselves they consider weak. The challenge for Aries lies in learning how to balance their natural strength with emotional openness. While their resilience and independence are admirable qualities, there are times when they need to allow themselves to be vulnerable. Suppressing their emotions for too long can lead to internal conflicts, making them feel isolated and misunderstood. Aries might struggle to connect with others on a deeper level, even in relationships where they care deeply, because they are afraid of revealing too much of themselves. Their fear of vulnerability might prevent them from forming authentic emotional connections, keeping them at arm's length from those they love the most. In relationships, this can sometimes create friction. Aries may push their partner away, not out of a lack of love or affection, but because they are uncomfortable with the intimacy that comes with exposing their true feelings. This isn't to say that Aries don't feel deeply. They do. They feel everything intensely, but they choose to express that emotion through action and determination, rather than through words or emotional vulnerability. This dynamic can leave their partners feeling frustrated, as they may sense that Aries is holding back or not fully sharing their true selves. However, Aries also has the potential to be incredibly compassionate when they let their guard down. Once they trust someone enough to open up, they reveal a depth of emotion and tenderness that is often hidden beneath their outer shell. Aries has a heart of gold, and when they feel safe and supported, they become some of the most loyal and caring individuals you could ever meet. The challenge is getting them to trust enough to take down those walls and show their softer side. When they do, it's a beautiful thing to witness. Aries' struggle with vulnerability is deeply intertwined with their identity as an independent, self-reliant individual. They want to be seen as strong and capable, and admitting weakness seems like a threat to that image. But learning to embrace vulnerability doesn't mean giving up their strengths. It means being able to share their true selves without fear of judgment, something that can lead to stronger, more authentic relationships and a greater sense of emotional fulfillment. As we move forward, let's dive into another fascinating trait of Aries, their desire for external validation. Aries is a sign that craves recognition, but this need for admiration often hides deeper insecurities that they are reluctant to show. How does this external validation impact their psychological makeup? Let's explore that in the next psychological fact. Number 10, ego-driven but insecure. Underneath Aries is known for their boldness, confidence, and desire to take the lead in every aspect of their life. They project an image of strength and self-assuredness that others find magnetic. But beneath this bravado lies a more vulnerable side that often surprises those who don't know them well. Aries may come across as egotistical or overly self-assured, but this outward display of confidence is often a shield designed to protect deeper insecurities. The truth is, Aries has a strong need for external validation. They thrive on recognition, admiration, and the approval of others, especially when it comes to their accomplishments. Aries wants to be seen as successful, strong, and capable, and they will go to great lengths to achieve that image. Whether it's through their career achievements, personal success, or even the way they present themselves in relationships, Aries needs to know that their efforts are being acknowledged and appreciated. This craving for validation can sometimes manifest as arrogance or an inflated sense of self-worth. Aries may act as though they don't care what others think of them, but deep down, they are incredibly sensitive to how they are perceived. Their ego is intricately tied to their identity, and if their achievements or actions go unrecognized, they can feel deflated and even question their value. In some cases, this may lead to outbursts or frustration when they feel overlooked or unappreciated. At the same time, Aries' need for recognition can make them prone to insecurities. They may measure their self-worth by external standards, which means that their confidence can be fragile. If Aries doesn't receive the validation they're seeking, it can cause them to doubt their abilities or feel less than others. This insecurity often goes unnoticed because Aries is so adept at hiding their emotions, but it's there, lurking beneath the surface. What's interesting about Aries is that this need for external validation isn't just about ego. It's about a deep-rooted desire to prove themselves. Aries wants to show the world that they are worthy, capable, and deserving of success. They've often faced challenges in their life that have led them to feel like they need to continuously prove their worth. Whether it's overcoming obstacles or competing in their personal or professional life, Aries wants to be seen as someone who can rise to the occasion and meet the world head-on. The combination of ego-driven confidence and underlying insecurity is a delicate balance for Aries. Their desire for recognition can drive them to great heights, but it can also leave them feeling vulnerable when that recognition doesn't come. They can be incredibly driven by their goals, but when those goals aren't met or appreciated, they can feel emotionally deflated. This internal conflict is what makes Aries both fascinating and complex. They are confident, yet they seek reassurance. They are strong, yet they are sensitive. They are independent, yet they desire to be validated by others. The challenge for Aries is learning how to build their confidence from within, rather than relying on the approval of others. When Aries can learn to appreciate their own value, independent of external validation, they can achieve a level of emotional fulfillment that doesn't depend on constant recognition from others. This self-assurance is key to overcoming the insecurities that lie hidden beneath their powerful exterior. As we continue to explore Aries' psychological makeup, we'll look at how this need for validation intersects with their sense of adventure and independence. Aries is constantly pushing forward, seeking new challenges and exploring new horizons. But how does their inner conflict with ego and insecurity impact their decision-making and relationships? Let's dive into that in the next section, where we'll examine how Aries' craving for validation and their adventurous spirit come together to shape their life journey. Number 11 has a short attention span. One of the most defining psychological characteristics of Aries is their short attention span. Aries is constantly on the go, with their mind racing from one exciting prospect to the next. Their innate curiosity and drive for excitement make them intensely focused at the start of any new venture. But as soon as the initial thrill fades or the challenge becomes too routine, their attention wanes and they begin to look for something else to spark their interest. It's not that Aries lacks commitment or determination. It's simply that their need for newness and adventure often gets in the way of long-term focus. For Aries, life is an endless series of possibilities and challenges. They are drawn to what is new and stimulating, constantly in search of experiences that will capture their attention and ignite their passion. This is why they often dive headfirst into new projects, relationships, or ideas with an enthusiasm that's hard to match. Aries will give it their all at the beginning, working tirelessly, putting in the energy, and being fully engaged. But once the excitement wears off, they quickly lose interest and begin searching for the next big thing that promises the same rush of excitement. This characteristic can be seen in many areas of an Aries life. In their career, for example, they may start a new job or project with great energy and drive, only to move on to something else once the challenge begins to feel familiar or less exciting. Aries thrives in fast-paced, dynamic environments that keep them engaged, but they can struggle in more routine or monotonous situations. They may quickly tire of tasks that require long periods of patience or consistency. The same pattern can be seen in personal interests or hobbies. An Aries might become intensely passionate about a new hobby, only to abandon it once they've mastered the basics or once the initial thrill fades. In relationships, this need for constant stimulation can lead to restlessness. Aries can be incredibly dynamic and charming at the start of a romance, always planning exciting dates or new adventures. However, if the relationship becomes too predictable or routine, Aries may lose interest, finding themselves searching for something that reignites the spark they initially felt. This can cause friction in relationships, especially if their partner doesn't share the same need for constant excitement or novelty. Aries might be perceived as flaky or inconsistent when in fact, they're simply seeking out the new and the exciting to feed their restless spirit. The flip side of this short attention span is that it makes Aries incredibly adaptable. When one project or experience fails to hold their interest, they can easily move on to the next challenge. This ability to pivot and start fresh allows Aries to take risks and embrace new opportunities without fear of failure. They have an innate ability to begin anew, which makes them resilient and often successful in areas where others might hesitate. However, Aries must learn to temper their desire for novelty with the realization that not everything in life requires immediate results or constant change. There are times when sticking with something through the less exciting parts, whether a relationship, career, or long-term project, can bring even greater rewards. Aries often needs to learn that not every challenge should be abandoned the moment it loses its initial appeal. Developing the ability to stay engaged over time, to cultivate patience and consistency, is a valuable skill that Aries can benefit from. The key to managing their short attention span lies in finding a balance between their love for excitement and their need for stability. Aries can thrive in environments where they are allowed to move quickly, tackle new challenges, and experience fresh ideas, but they must also recognize that some aspects of life require long-term dedication. Learning to stay engaged even when the thrill fades can help Aries achieve a more fulfilling and well-rounded life. But how does this short attention span influence their overall life goals and relationships? This brings us to the next psychological fact about Aries. Number 12. Psychologically complex, yet simple in their desires. Aries is a fascinating sign because on the surface, they may appear simple, driven by straightforward desires. They want to succeed, to lead, to be seen, and to be admired. Their needs are direct and their goals are clear. Aries doesn't waste time with ambiguity or overthinking. They know what they want and they go after it with intensity. However, beneath this apparent simplicity lies a complex emotional and psychological landscape that is often misunderstood by those around them. Aries' personality is not as one-dimensional as it seems at first glance. Rather, it's multifaceted, constantly shifting between their inner desires and outer actions. At their core, Aries seeks recognition and respect. They crave the kind of validation that comes with success, whether it's in their professional life, personal relationships, or public image. They are driven by the need to prove their worth, and this desire for acknowledgement often pushes them to accomplish great things. They want to be recognized as leaders, as capable individuals who can take on any challenge and come out victorious. The simplicity of this desire is clear. Aries wants to be seen as strong, capable, and successful. But the complexity lies in the way they pursue this recognition and the internal conflicts they face along the way. Aries is fiercely independent, yet they also want others to see their worth. This duality creates a tension between their need for external validation and their desire for self-reliance. They want to stand alone and be recognized for their personal achievements, but they also seek the approval of others. This creates an internal struggle where Aries constantly feels torn between wanting to prove their independence and needing the acknowledgement that comes from being admired by those around them. The result is a complex personality, driven by a desire for success, but also for the recognition that validates their self-worth. Their inner world is also characterized by intense emotions, despite the often fiery exterior they project. Aries is not one to openly display their vulnerabilities, and they often mask their emotional struggles with strength and confidence. Beneath the surface, however, Aries can be highly sensitive to criticism or rejection. Their pride is a key part of their identity, and anything that threatens that pride can deeply affect them. This emotional vulnerability is often hidden behind their boldness and self-assuredness, leaving others unaware of the depth of their sensitivity. The complexity of Aries also lies in their love for adventure and risk-taking. On one hand, they seek stability and validation through their accomplishments, but on the other, they are drawn to excitement and new experiences. This creates a constant internal push and pull between their desire for security and their need for novelty. Aries thrives on the unknown, on the thrill of new challenges and uncharted territory. Yet they also crave the certainty that comes with success and recognition. This makes their psychological makeup even more intricate, as they are never quite satisfied with one thing or the other. They want it all: success, excitement, recognition, and independence, and they'll stop at nothing to get it. At the end of the day, Aries' desires might seem simple on the surface, but they are driven by a psychological complexity that fuels their actions. They are constantly searching for balance between their need for validation and their desire for independence. They want to succeed, but they also want to do so on their own terms. They want adventure, but they also need the security that comes with achievement. This constant push and pull between opposing desires creates a dynamic personality that is both fascinating and, at times, challenging to understand. Aries is a person who strives to live life on their own terms, but who also faces the complexity of trying to reconcile their internal desires with their external actions. As we've explored together, Aries is one of the most complex and fascinating signs of the zodiac. From their unwavering drive to succeed to their emotional resilience and inner vulnerability, Aries is far from one-dimensional. In this final section, let's take a step back and recap everything we've uncovered about this powerful and dynamic fire sign. We've seen just how Aries balances a constant need for excitement with their relentless ambition, and how their psychological makeup is shaped by both their natural leadership and their hidden insecurities. Aries is undoubtedly driven by their need to win, whether it's in their career, personal life, or even in smaller day-to-day tasks. They are constantly striving for greatness, but this drive is not just about being competitive. It's a reflection of their deep internal need to prove themselves and their capabilities. This powerful urge to succeed is what propels them forward, making them highly energetic and focused. But it's not just the thrill of success that excites Aries. It's the rush of proving that they can conquer any challenge that comes their way. Yet this intense drive often leads to impatience and impulsive actions. Aries has a tendency to want things to move fast, and their impatience can sometimes lead to hasty decisions. This impulsiveness is part of what makes Aries so unpredictable and fascinating. They act quickly, often without overthinking, and thrive in situations that demand immediate action. This impulsive nature can lead to both brilliance and mistakes. But one thing is certain: Aries never lets failure define them. They are incredibly resilient, always bouncing back stronger after setbacks, ready to jump into their next adventure. However, while Aries may seem unshakable, their emotions run deep. Their emotional resilience is impressive, but they often mask vulnerability with strength, fearing that showing their true feelings would undermine their tough exterior. Despite this, Aries can be highly sensitive and prone to emotional flare-ups when their pride is wounded. Aries is a natural-born leader, always ready to take charge and lead by example. Their self-assurance and confidence often make them the center of attention, and they have the innate ability to motivate others with their passion. But with this strong leadership comes the challenge of control. Aries often struggles with the balance between leading and allowing others to take charge. They can sometimes come off as overbearing or overly assertive, particularly when they feel that things aren't moving fast enough or in the direction they want. This need for control is also tied to their deep-seated desire for independence. Aries values their autonomy and resists relying on others. They thrive when they have the freedom to make their own decisions and follow their own path. However, this can sometimes isolate them, or make it hard for them to collaborate fully with others. On the surface, Aries might appear to be simple in their desires. They want recognition, success, and the freedom to follow their passions. But beneath that simplicity lies a much deeper psychological complexity. Aries often wrestles with their need for validation, even though they might present themselves as independent and self-reliant. Their desire for recognition can sometimes create an internal conflict as they seek both independence and the approval of others. This emotional complexity makes them both captivating and at times difficult to fully understand. They are constantly balancing their internal drive for success with their outward quest for admiration, and this push and pull shapes much of their personality. Aries' love for adventure is another defining characteristic. They thrive in dynamic environments where they are constantly challenged and pushed to grow. Boredom is Aries' worst enemy, and they are always on the lookout for new experiences that excite them and push their boundaries. However, this desire for novelty can sometimes lead them to abandon projects, relationships, or even hobbies once the excitement fades. Aries is always chasing the next thrill, which can make them appear restless or scattered. But it's this very pursuit of new challenges that keeps them evolving and discovering new parts of themselves. They are always in motion, constantly seeking growth and new opportunities. One of the more challenging aspects of Aries is their struggle with patience. They want things to happen quickly and can grow frustrated when progress is slow. This impatience often leads them to make impulsive decisions, leaving them feeling regretful when things don't go as planned. Additionally, while Aries is often emotionally resilient, they can struggle with expressing their true feelings. They prefer to mask vulnerability with strength, making it difficult for them to open up fully, even to those they trust. Aries fears that showing their emotional vulnerability will undermine their independence and strength. But when they do allow themselves to be vulnerable, they form deeper and more meaningful connections. All these traits combine to make Aries one of the most complex and fascinating signs in the zodiac. From their natural leadership abilities and passion for success to their vulnerability and constant need for excitement, Aries is a sign of constant movement, change, and evolution. They live life with intensity, and while this makes them incredibly dynamic and driven, it also means they face challenges in finding balance between independence and connection, excitement and stability, confidence and vulnerability. Aries is a sign that refuses to be confined by rules or expectations, always striving to blaze their own trail, no matter how difficult or unconventional that path may be. Thank you so much for taking the time to explore the incredible psychological complexities of Aries with us today. We hope you've gained a deeper understanding of this powerful and dynamic zodiac sign. But we're just getting started. There's so much more to explore about all the signs of the zodiac, and we would love for you to join us on this journey. If you enjoyed this video and want to learn more about the zodiac, be sure to subscribe to our channel, Secret of the Zodiac. We're posting new videos regularly, diving into the unique traits and psychological depths of each sign. You can also like this video if you found it insightful and helpful. Your support helps us grow and bring more content to you. But that's not all. We'd really love to hear your thoughts. Comment below and let us know if you relate to the Aries traits we discussed today. Are you an Aries? Or do you know someone who is? How does Aries' personality resonate with you? Let's start a conversation and get as many Aries fans and astrology lovers involved as possible. Your insights are so important to us, and we want to build a community where we can all learn from each other. Lastly, we'd like to ask for a little help to keep bringing you more amazing content. If you're enjoying what we do and want to see more daily videos on zodiac signs, we'd greatly appreciate your support through Super Thanks. Your generous contributions help cover the costs of running the channel and allow us to bring you high-quality content more often. Every little bit helps and goes directly toward making this channel even better. If you love what we do and want to support us in a tangible way, consider sending a super thanks today. Thank you again for being part of our Secret of the Zodiac community. We look forward to exploring the stars with you and continuing this journey through the zodiac together.